Warning: this video is not intended for persons underneath the age of 13. Thank you. I guess I should make a joke here, but my delivery would be a little too wooden. Hey, what can I say? Making puns is my fate. Sorry, I just couldn't help my elf. Hey everybody, it's the year is 1999, and if those puns didn't tip you off, today we're going to be talking about elves. We'll go over how they exist in the player's handbook, how I handle them in my world, and some ideas I have for alternative subraces. Now, elves are probably the most powerful race in the PHB. You can make a case for Aasimar being stronger now, but they weren't part of the 5e base set. Elves have a great spread of abilities. Advantage against being charmed, the perception skill, and dark vision. They also only take 4 hours for a long rest and live up to 3/4 of a millennia. Think about these abilities from a roleplay standpoint. Not only do they live 10 times longer than humans, they also only need to rest for half as long. No wonder elves traditionally think of themselves as better than everyone else. They could easily domesticate humans if they wanted to. Actually, that could make for an interesting campaign setting, where the ruling elf class retains human slaves who serve the same masters as their ancestors. Anyway, back to the player character of elves. Now, there are 3 main subraces: High Elves, Wood Elves, and Dark Elves. High Elves tend to be a bit more worldly and educated. They get an extra language and a wizard cantrip. Wood Elves are more in tune with nature. They are faster and can hide easily. Dark Elves, aka Drow, tend to live underground. They have better dark vision, but don't like the sun. They also get some special spells, and they are traditionally considered to be evil worshippers of the spider goddess. So that's the short version of elf stats according to the Wizards of the Coast. In my world, at least, elves were one of the first races to be created by the gods. Specifically, they were made out of the stars by the god of light, Quaken. Each of the first races was made out of some element of nature. Tieflings, for example, were made out of the flames used to shape the world. Another part of the lore of my world is an event known as the Demon War. During this was a century of conflict during which 4 demons fell on the prime material plane and wreaked havoc. The last and worst of these was the demon Tureg. It went on a crusade, causing the near extinction of the elven race. It was stopped by an elf named Duron, who was blessed by 7 magical artifacts that are now scattered throughout the world. This event marked a new chapter in the history for elvenkind. In the modern day, there's only about 5 full-blood high elf families remaining, and they control the elven country of Rudra. The most powerful of these is the Skyoak family, which is led by King Flavio and Queen Arum. Before this, it was really rare for an elf to reproduce with a non-elf. After the Demon War, however, many elves saw it as the only way to carry on the elven legacy. So the various subraces are elven hybrids. The Wood Elf is part fey or woodland creature, such as a dryad or nymph. High elves generally consider them to also be full elves. Drow, on the other hand, are considered to be half tiefling. Because of this, instead of drow magic, they get infernal legacy. They don't have to worry about sunlight sensitivity, but only have dark vision out to 60 feet. They don't have hellish resistance, though. That would be a bit too OP with all the other elven abilities. From a story standpoint, most high elves think very lowly of the drow. They already look down on tieflings, but are generally fine with them just being their own thing. However, it's a disgrace for them to contaminate elvish blood by breeding with one. Now, I know getting into racial dynamics can make some people uncomfortable, but in other cases, it's great storytelling. I'm a firm believer that there's a place for everything in Dungeons & Dragons, but you have to do it in a way that works for your players. For some other elf types, there are the regular half-elves. These are just part human, and they're explained pretty directly in the player's handbook. Ground elves. These are half-elf, half-dwarf. I guess they would average around 5.5 feet tall, with lifespans about 500 years. They would look like bulky elves with less sharp features. For their stats, Dex goes up by 2, Con goes up by 1. They get Dwarven Resilience and Dwarven Toughness. Now, both dwarves and elves come with innate skills and proficiencies. These assume that you were raised by your race and learn their various customs. After all, if a dwarf has never laid hands on a battle axe, then he shouldn't be proficient with one. You'll have to decide what circumstances your character grew up in and get the corresponding skills. To be honest, that should apply for any character, but especially with dwarves and elves because of all the skills they get. I would say that a ground elf can speak both elvish and dwarven, though. Draco elves. Part dragon, part elf. Basically, they are the dragonborn of elves. It's going to keep most of the regular elven characteristics, though. Dexterity goes up by 2, and charisma goes up by 1. They both have dark vision, so that stays. They also do have a constant resistance to acid, lightning, fire, poison, or cold based on the scale color. It learns Draconic probably, and also gets a breath weapon attack that can be used once per rest. This one I'm also kind of unsure about, putting together all of the dragon combat abilities with the various elven proficiencies. Let me know what you guys think. How about gnome elves? Why not? I mean, a forest gnome is already a lot like a wood elf, so I guess they could work together. Height cancels out, so they probably meet somewhere in the middle. For our forest wood elf, dexterity would increase by 3, since they both increase dex. Speaks gnomish and elvish, would get the minor illusion cantrip, and be able to somewhat communicate with small animals. Next up, sky elves. If you're unfamiliar with the Aarakocra, they are a breed of bird folk who have an innate flying speed. Our sky elf can fly at, let's just say 20 feet per round, so it still has the power, but since they're still primarily an elf, they're not going to get all of the Aarakocra stuff. They would also be able to use his talons to augment his unarmed strikes to do 1d4 slashing. And yeah, we can say that he gets the Aarakocra and Oren along with Elvish. And if you're wondering why I'm giving them both languages, it's because High Elves already would get one additional language, so I think this balances out. I know Wood Elves don't, so that kind of calls the Forest Gnome Wood Elf thing into question, but I still think it can work depending on what you want to do, especially if they were raised by both of their parents. And that's going to be enough for today. I know this is a shorter video and, the animations aren't as sophisticated, but my last one was pretty long. Do you guys have any ideas for elven crossbreeds? Did you like my elven lore? I can do more videos like that. My next video is going to be the result of a Twitter poll. Choose between Stephen King Part 2, Zombies Part 2, Minecraft Part 2, or Saw. If this sounds familiar, it's because it's the same poll that I had last week. Gonna relaunch it because no one voted for it, so check out the link for that in the description. If you want to check out some more from me, I have a video on FullMetal Alchemist, 2 of them actually, one's for players, the other's for DMs. Then another one talking about language, including the most number of languages that a player can learn. I have an actual play podcast called Enter the Dungeon, where if you want to see my D&D world in use, this is the place to do that. Well, that's all I have for today. I will see you guys next time. Have a great day, and God bless.